Welcome. You're listening to the Leading Hope Podcast. My name is VJ Williams, here with my friend and pastor, Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your day to become a better leader. If you're new, we release a new episode every Wednesday. We'd love for you to subscribe to your favorite podcast platform. Get that automatically delivered every Wednesday morning. Also, share this with a friend on YouTube or Facebook and Instagram. And rate and review on Apple Podcasts. You won't believe how that helps get this podcast in the hands of more leaders just like you. And visit leadinghope.online to get updates and find out more about the Leading Hope community. Today is episode 150.
We're here.
I don't even know what that means.
What's that even? Yeah.
I don't even know what it means.
It's a multiple of 50, so it's more meaningful.
It's like, well, I mean, there's 52 weeks in a year, so we're approaching 3 years.
So 156 is 3 years, but we took a month off. Well, 3 years worth of podcasts.
You took a month off.
I took a month off. VJ was not happy with me.
It was great. I'm glad you took that time off. I think it was well deserved.
VJ still came and recorded by himself. He
it was
sat here next to an empty microphone, looked interested the entire time.
Actually, I just did the same reading that I normally do there, and then I just looked over here for 15 more minutes.
Today, Kevin, is episode 127. What you got?
Just dead there looking the whole time. That's great. Hey, it's episode 150. We're jacked up. We're pumped.
We got 20 minutes in this podcast and we've already wasted 2.
We got 2 minutes is gone.
All right. So here's the idea. So let me explain a little bit. The title.
I didn't say the name of it. Did I?
Yeah. Go ahead and say the name.
Not settling for your team.
Not settling for your team.
There we go.
I don't know where we should put the emphasis.
I don't either.
Not settling for your team. Not settling for your team.
Not settling for
I think that's the right one. Not settling for your team.
Yeah, I'm curious to what you mean by this.
All right, so let me kind of just lay a little groundwork to start it off. So acknowledge the idea that comfort and growth are mutually exclusive. As my friend Tim Fisher says, there is no growth in the comfort zone. There is no comfort in the growth zone.
Yep.
In the moments in which we're growing the most, we are not comfortable. In the moments in which we are most comfortable, we are not growing. I think we acknowledge the first one. The moments that I'm growing, I'm not comfortable.
Yeah.
Yep, good. But we don't make the second acknowledgement that if I'm comfortable, I'm probably not growing at the same point in time. At the Global Leadership Summit, there was a couple years ago, they did this little mini documentary on the top training facility in the world for the world sprinters.
Okay.
So like, we are going to look in this many Olympics, they have trained here, done this stuff. And they set it up really well. Like, this is considered the top training facility in the entire world. And then they started taking you through it, and it was a dump.
Oh man.
It was seriously, you were looking at, you're like, are you kidding me? The locker rooms were nasty. The field, it was just like a dirt field. Huh. And there was just a couple other things of equipment, but it wasn't nice. And they were interviewing the director of the training facility. And he said, this is not a facility built for comfort. This is a facility built for performance.
Wow.
I was like, oh. And you could hear it in the room. Everybody was like, oh, because we were expecting it's the top training facility in the world. We were expecting top-notch equipment, the nicest locker rooms. And he's just going, no, if you have all those comfort pieces, you're not going to want to go to work. This is built in order for you to go to work. So I say that just from the standpoint of that comfort and growth are mutually exclusive. So here becomes the dilemma as a leader, as a manager, as anyone who leads an organization or a team in any way, is that people who are turned off by comfort, isn't everyone. And people who are turned off by growth isn't everyone. I said that really poorly. But I want to explain this kind of as a dilemma that you face, is that when you begin to implement a growth-oriented environment, you're going to have two completely different reactions. When you start talking about growth and development and increasing your capacity and developing your abilities, the reality is that those who are inspired by growth, and I don't mean numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, personal growth.
Yeah.
Okay. Those who are inspired by that are going to be excited about it. And those who want a comfort environment are immediately going to be turned off by it.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah.
So just to acknowledge that, like, when you start saying, like, we're going to get better, some people in the room are going to go, yeah, we are. And other people in the room are going to go, do we have to? Like, are you serious? We're really going to focus on this? We're going to read a book. Some people are going to be like, I've been waiting to do this with my team forever. Other people, can I just get the notes? Can we do this instead? I don't really. What if we just watch a video together for like 5 minutes and then we could be done?
Yeah.
We get it?
I want to say some more things, but I'm going to.
I want to acknowledge for the leader that as you start leading towards individual growth and development, not everyone is going to be thrilled with that.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing that I want to say is that there is a tendency to acquiesce, to bend to the comfort voices.
Yeah.
To those who go, I don't really, and I'll come back around and give a little more explanation on this on the end. But for right now, I just want to settle here is to say, when you start pushing growth and leading people that they can be more than they currently are, you're going to have some people who are cynical, negative, critical, don't like that one bit.
Yeah.
And my point is this, don't settle for your team. Don't settle for them. You cannot choose comfort for the entire team because a couple just want that. And so you cannot choose to settle where you are for your team. So a couple ideas on what I'm learning. First one is this, is you cannot help someone who doesn't want growth to want growth. I would love to say, like, maybe you could just give like a motivational speech, inspire, talk through outcomes, all these other things. You could just look at them and just be like, hey, I believe, seriously, like, yes, you can say, I believe this about you. I believe you can do more than this. That it can be a confidence thing that's there. But I believe at the end of the day also that while you can help someone increase their confidence to actually want more and believe more about themselves, you can't help someone who doesn't want growth to want growth.
Yeah.
Just the reality. I used to think I could encourage anyone to grow.
Yeah.
I used to think like, oh no, they just don't get it. They just don't see this side of it. This way's better. I can't.
I agree. The thing for that is like, I don't know that it's not that they don't like growth. I don't think they like to do the things that leads to growth.
That's the point. Yeah.
Like
accurate.
Anybody says you want to grow? Oh, yeah.
Better way of phrasing it.
Got to do this.
They don't. No. They like comfort more than they like growth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they're unwilling to do what it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so just to say this as like you're again come back to the those who want comfort and those who want growth, you will always be frustrating one of these groups.
Yeah.
Okay. And I believe that you can't help someone who doesn't want to grow or who loves comfort so much to start hating comfort, to start disliking comfort and wanting growth more.
Yeah.
So that's the first idea of what I'm learning. Second idea is this. You cannot allow comfort to be the settling point for your team. And that is the biggest thing that I want to communicate in this episode is just to say, do not allow the voice or the two voices or the 10% of people who go, this feels like a lot. Now, this is the balance of the leader is to say, like, we've joked before. My most common phrase to you is if the general gets too far ahead of the army mistakes him for the enemy and they start shooting at him.
Yep.
Okay. Like I'm saying you can move too fast, but you will probably likely, whenever you introduce anything new, you'll probably have a couple voices that are always critical of it.
Yeah.
Do not allow just those couple critical voices to make you think it's the whole team that feels this way. And so you settle in right there.
Yeah.
You got something?
I mean, it's going to happen. I mean,
yeah.
That's as soon as you start to introduce anything that is different from what people are doing. It's not that they're against the change. They're against what it means it has to change for them.
Yeah. This is something I just put in my notes, and I'll share it because I do think it'll be helpful, is I have found that the preference of comfort will spread quickly because, I mean, who doesn't want that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, do you want to sit in this hard wooden chair or do you want to go lay in the recliner? recliner. When it comes to like our work lives, it's like, well, do you want to do this the same way we've always done it, super efficiently, and then we're out the doors at 2? Or do you want to do this harder thing that's more meaningful, that will take a learning curve, and we're here till 6? 2.
Yeah.
And so I found that the preference, those who prefer comfort, that can spread quickly. But those who have an aptitude, a bent towards growth, they will leave quietly.
Yeah.
The growth people, typically, whenever when comfort has become a value, an unstated value, because no one ever goes like, what are our core values? Comfort.
Yeah.
But that's the reality is I would love for organizations to give their actual values.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
What do you actually value?
Yeah.
Not ticking people off.
Yeah. Yeah. Sleep.
Yeah. So, but when comfort is a
good.
value in an organization and things bend towards that, or you could just say it as this is how we've always done it. Those who are growth minded to begin with, they'll just leave.
Yeah.
They'll just find a place. And so if you as a leader or manager, if you always listen to the comfort voices, you need to be aware that eventually the room will just be filled with comfort voices because all the people who want growth are going to leave and go somewhere else that'll help them grow.
Wow.
Because they're bored.
Yeah.
And so which do you want? Do you want to deal with the negative voices, or do you want to deal with a whole team that doesn't want to do anything?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Now, here's the last piece, and I do want to balance this out some, is I also believe that you're never full comfort or full growth. You're always a balance of both. And say like the person who trains but never recovers is not in a good spot.
Yeah.
That both of those have to be factored in there. And so we acknowledge, I hate the word balance just because people view it as this sense of like, oh, everything has to be equal. And that's what balance actually is. I like it far better on rhythm. That you can go through a growth rhythm and then you better go through a recover rhythm. And so you can't be like, if you looked at someone in their role, you say, I want you to have an aptitude for growth. So you are not going to be comfortable in a single thing you do. That person is miserable.
Yeah.
I can promise you that, because they need to know that they're at least competent in some area.
Yeah.
But you can change bits and pieces and level up the scale of excellence and level up the standard of responsibility over time. And as you go in these different areas, you say, I am growing in this area, but I'm still operating in what I'm used to, comfortable with in these areas.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Cool. Never full comfort or full growth, always a balance.
Yeah. Did you have more on that? I didn't want to cut in here.
I didn't know if you want to jump into anything.
I want to wait until you're finished because I have some questions. That's gonna
Go.
Well,
Go. We'll see if we get to it.
So the thing that's difficult here for the leader that you might be speaking to today is the leader who says, I don't want to settle for my team, but based on what you're saying, I'm acknowledging that I can't help someone who doesn't want to go through the things they have to go through to grow.
Yep.
What do I do in those circumstances? How do I shift the narrative? How do I empower? How do I create environments that I'm not doing the change, but the environment itself helps them see what do I do?
Yeah. I think this is where I wanted you to ask the question, because I figured you'd stumble into my accessory notes at the end as well.
Yeah.
I think as a leader, it is incredibly important to be clear on this is where we're going to live on that spectrum between comfort and growth. So let's say it is, I don't mean to like take a shot at bankers. So like if you're a banker, please don't email us, or you may tell us like, no, this industry is changing all the time. Banks historically have not been known to be like crazy growth environments. Like, oh my gosh, and now we're changing what we're doing today from last week, and now we're upscaling this process and all these other things. It's pretty standard.
Yeah.
And so I think the difficulty is if you come in and you're, say, a bank teller, and the promise is, welcome to this high growth environment, you're going to be like, well, that's not that.
Yeah.
And you're going to be frustrated. And I think most people who enter into that workplace, that career, understand that it falls a little more on the this is standard, this is how we've always done it side.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
I think you need to set that expectation with your team. You need to be clear with your team early on. Hey, this is the level of comfort you can expect. versus this is how hard we're going to push forward on trying new things.
Yeah.
And I've tried it, and I will say this is, I'm sure I failed on this multiple times, but like one of our values we put in on our team is we turn on a dime. We turn on a dime.
Yeah.
If things change, we change. That is one way of me setting in the expectation. We are a growth environment.
Yeah.
If we see that there is a single thing to do better, we will do that thing immediately, and you'll be notified as we go on about it.
Yeah. Is there a part of this that the leader needs to model the behavior?
Yes.
That's a dumb question. I know they are, but at what extent do you need to because you made up the reference of don't get too far out from your team. But there is a piece of that if you're not running a pace that's not being modeled, then they're not gonna. There's no reward for doing it.
So we say it as the phrase is speed of the leader, speed of the team.
Yeah.
The team will never exceed the speed of the leader.
Right.
And so if your team's not operating in that in some way, you need to check your own pace, how much you're pursuing growth yourself.
Gotcha.
The reality is then like you can run too fast.
Right.
That you get too far ahead of them.
And that makes sense. I think it's the more important for this particular discussion is the fact that if you want to see those people run a pace that inspires growth, you better, as a leader, inspire them by modeling a growth pattern.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool. What else you got for us?
Yeah, I think that is the biggest thing for today is communicating that idea. I have this, I live in this fantasy world in my head that I go like, well, I'm going to get in front of our team and I'm going to be like, we're going to do it like this. We're going to do it different. We're going to pursue this and none of us are good at it. And everyone's going to be like, woo, let's go. And that is the acknowledgement that is never going to happen because there are some people, whether it's aptitude or the season that they're in, that they are pursuing comfort in that moment. And I can't get too far ahead of the whole team. But if I cater to comfort, then all the growth people leave and I'm now in a worse spot. And so I just want people to know to say, like, when you push, when do you change? I want you to be clear with your team on this is the level of change you can expect. This is how quickly you can expect our pace to be and how much we expect you to improve over time. So being clear on those things early on matters, but that then when you push it and you push for personal growth and you push for leveling up excellence, don't expect 100% approval rating.
Right, yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and I think that's important to realize because if you're worried about that, you're not going to get to the accomplishment that you're looking for, the goal
Absolutely.
that you think. The one last thing on this is, you know what? No, I'm not going to go there. We're going to end this today. We're done. You want to?
That's it. I'm good.
You're good. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you're new to the podcast or haven't yet subscribed, it'd mean the world to us if you did that now. Also, post about it, rate and review, or both. You won't believe how that helps get this podcast in the hands of many more leaders just like you. Love hearing your stories of how the podcast is working in your life or business. If you have a story, visit leadinghope.online. Click that contact button there and just send us what's going on there. We will love to hear from you. And remember, everyone has 20 minutes to learn to become a better leader. Make it count.